Stephen Davis with the Community Investment Collaborative. We are based in Charlottesville, Virginia, and serve basically the 10 counties from basically Charlottesville north to Culpeper is our kind of like historical service region. But we're looking to kind of support more entrepreneurs, and especially with our loan program in other parts of the state where there might not be an existing microloan program. So I also have roots in Southside Virginia. I grew up in Dinwiddie County, Virginia, and my mother's family is in Halifax, Virginia. So I've spent a fair amount of time throughout Southside. So it's great to, kind of hear from all of you, and hopefully can get to know you a little bit in the coming weeks and months. My kind of goal for today is to introduce you to CIC, or the Community Investment Collaborative, so you're familiar with our organization. I saw there are a few entrepreneurs on the call, so I had a couple of slides of presentation that we usually do just about if you're preparing for financing your business. And so I'll kind of go through those, and if there are questions or things on there, I can do it, but and then spend more of the time at the end talking specifically about our loan program and options for it. So feel free to jump in with questions in the chat or raise your hand at any point during it. I don't feel you have to wait till the end. So Community Investment Collaborative, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary this year. So founded in 2012. Our mission is helping under-resourced entrepreneurs start and grow businesses. And so we have our programs built on 4 pillars: training and education, mentoring, financing, and networking. So we run a 16-week entrepreneur workshop here in Charlottesville that we've had 24 cohorts over the last 10 and a half years with the class that just finished last night has our 500th graduate in that time. And so you can see a couple of pictures in the top left there for it. The class is designed to help folks, much like co-starters, similar kind of approach, just all a little bit longer, 16 weeks, and definitely we focus on building the community through it, but helping folks figure out if the business can work, learning what it takes to run a small business, and kind of taking those next steps. We have a mentor program. We pair people with volunteers who are mentors in the community to have they take the next steps in their business. We have a financial management program that helps folks build record keeping and bookkeeping skills to help really improve those practices in your business. Lots of networking opportunities. Our version of something like this, both that we've done in person and virtually over the years in this region, as well as our microloan program, which I mentioned. We are a certified CDFI, a Community Development Finance Institution, and so that means we have a Treasury Department certification saying that we follow good practices in lending and focused on underserved communities. So, a couple of stories from our clients we've had in the past. LG's Elixir, is a health drink, that Leslie Gourdet is on the left here makes and has been selling at farmers market and is working his way into stores, throughout the region. We helped do a loan for him as he was getting started to buy equipment so he could go from, only being able to make, like basically one case of the beverage every, 3 or 4 hours to being able to make 20 cases, in a day, and so that type of thing really increased and then allowed him to focus on selling. And so did that loan. In the middle, you have Bowerbird Bakery, which is here in Charlottesville, just about a half a mile from UVA. Delicious treats. He also started the farmer's market, but moved into his own bakery, and so we helped him build out a shop, for his own bakery, and he's continued and grown through that. And on the right, we have Beyond Fitness with Sabrina, who started as a kind of personal trainer and doing kind of mobile fitness workshops and fitness workshop doesn't sound like the right word for fitness, but fitness classes and so forth. And she has just opened up, she's just expanded her business. Her brand is the Beyond brand. So she has Beyond Fitness, and she has a studio now that's in what used to be Fashion Square Mall here in Charlottesville, and also has expanded as a kind of event venue, so Beyond Entertainment, as part of that expansion. So those are three quick stories. We have lots of others. You know, we've done about $2.5 million of loans over our 10 years, but about 2 million of those have been since 2019. You know, so really a lot of growth in the last few years. So. So just general, like if you're thinking, for those of you who are entrepreneurs on the call, which I heard 4 or 5, and then a number of other, you know, entrepreneur support organizations and economic developers, you know, I forgot that this question loads one at a time. But you know, how do you know your financing needs? A really important thing as you're thinking about loans, you know, like the biggest way to figure that out is to really know your business plan. You know, like how are you going to get from step A to B to C, and which one requires money? You need equipment, you need to build out space, and so forth. And so when you're doing your business plan, you know, your business plan can be for very different sources. Like, is it for you? So you would need to decide, is this worth doing? Will it help me achieve my goal? How will I do it? All those things. But also the business plan can be and often is written for someone who is investing in your business. So a lender wants to know how they're going to be repaid. And so can you show them how you're going to be repaid? And investors want to know how they're going to make a return. So a similar question to being repaid, but just slightly different framing. You know, they're not just interested in getting paid back monthly. They want to know, hey, how long before I make how much, you know, from this business. So starting with that is really important. This workshop, like if we were doing a longer workshop here, we could dive into that more, but just more that overview for those of you who are thinking about financing. Lenders, you know, what are lenders looking for? Not just community lenders, but bankers. You know, in short, they want to know how you're going to repay the loan. You know, and these are the big things that they look at. You know, what's your personal financial situation? Just about every business that at the size that CIC serves, we do loans up to 50,000, but even just about every new business or loans under 100 or 200,000, most likely the owner of the business, you know, their personal credit is directly tied to any financing they're going to get. So knowing your personal financial situation, your monthly personal income and expenses, you know, and an important thing that can really make a difference, how much are you reliant on the business for your income? If every dollar that you earn that supports your family comes from your business, it's an important thing to really make sure that the business is in a good spot. If you're fortunate enough to have a significant other or to be able to start a business while having another source of income, that can really help the business go further because you can take more, you know, risk with the business because you have income that'll pay the family bills. But not everyone's in that spot. But knowing that is something that lenders really want to know how they relate to each other. Once you get past the personal side, the business situation obviously is a part of it. I think the most critical question, you know, for any business is, how do you know people want to buy what you're selling? Have you validated people want it? You know, the best way to do that is to actually start selling. But sometimes to start selling, you need to be able to buy the equipment or build the space. And so you have that little bit of a chicken or egg problem. You can't start selling until you have some things, but you can't get the money to do it without proving you can sell it, right? So figuring out how to test on small scales or do pop-ups or do other things that show people really want it. And bringing that data either has actual sales or research that you've done into your business plan, into any lender or, you know, loan application is really critical. It's not just, I believe people want it. It's that, like, I can show people want it in some way, you know, and so that's a really important thing to think about. It's often very challenging to get loans if you haven't been in business for 2 or 3 years for this reason. Because when you've been in business for 2 or 3 years, you've shown that people are buying what you're selling. And that's why banks often don't lend, you know, to startups under 2 or 3 years old. There's never absolute. There's banks that will do that. There's banks that will do that if you're putting up your house or other types of collateral. But in general, it's very hard to just get a straight business loan if you're not been operating for 2 or 3 years. And that's one of the reasons organizations and community lenders like CIC exist, is to help with those newer businesses or those who have a little trouble getting to a bank loan. Other important factors, security or collateral. You know, if the business doesn't work, what other way can the lender get repaid? So if you're buying equipment, can the equipment be sold? If, is there other collateral that can really secure the loan? And then lenders are often looking at a lot of external factors that you don't have control over. Economy, obviously inflation is a big thing right now. Competitors and who else is doing what you're doing in your market. So that's a quick overview of just what lenders look for. And I think it's a good segue into kind of how CIC thinks about our work. So if you're thinking about getting your first business loan, you need to think about what type of loan do you need and where are you going to get it from? The first thing is really, what do you need it for? Do you need to buy a piece of equipment so that, like I mentioned, the LG's Elixir needs to stop doing from manually, making things and can only do a case an hour to being able to do, or a case every 4 hours, I should say, to being able to do, 10 or 20 cases, in half a day. Like, do you need to produce more? Do you need to produce it more efficiently? Do you need that working capital to be able to pay employees for 2 or 3 months until the sales really get to where you need them to be? One of my favorite loans that we did is another farmers market food product, Ula Tortilla here in Charlottesville. They're available in about 50 Whole Foods up and down the East Coast now, but they started at the farmers market. And when we started working with them, they were hand labeling every packet of tortillas, like a pack of 10 tortillas, that you'd make tacos with or enchiladas or something like that. They were hand labeling them. So printing off a printer and hand labeling. And they had figured out that, like, if they could buy 50,000 units of packaging that were pre-printed, they, instead of paying like 90 cents for every unit of packaging, they would go down to like 15 cents for every unit of packaging. But they didn't have the money to buy 50,000 units. They needed a loan to do that. And so we were able to do that loan that, even with the sales they already had, they were selling, 200 or 300 units a month at that point. They would pay the loan payment just from the savings of, the new packaging. And so, like, that type of investment is often one that you have to make early in the loan. And if you don't have the capital that you can invest yourself, or have friends and family who can support, finding it can be challenging. And that's where, a loan is an easy option on that one. So we're going to talk about what options that CIC have. Banks in general, like I said, if the under 2 or 3 years, more challenging, but still always talk to your bank first. I can't stress that enough, that folks should have that relationship with your area banker, because they can really help point you to resources. They might know of short-term opportunities. And then if you are just not quite ready yet, a year down the road, you may be, and then you have the relationship that you're kind of further in spot for it. But these are the kind of questions in thinking about the loans. So what kind of options does CIC have? And obviously, I will send these slides to Jacob and Lauren, and they can make them available to the list, or you can email me afterwards. I'll give you my information. But CIC has two big categories of loans. One is brand new, that, like, not even on our website yet, but so we're just starting to promote it more. And even the name of it's not final. It's the accelerator loan here, but an accelerator is the working title one at the moment. So this loan is designed to help, really, to make it very easy for especially existing businesses, but also there's an option for startups as well, to get quick and easy access to capital to do, for a small piece of equipment, additional inventory, building improvements, and really as a part of growing the business and taking the next steps. We will do up to $10,000 on this loan, or 2.5 times what your monthly revenue is. So if you sell $4,000 a month in sales already, you can borrow up to $10,000. If you only have 1,000 in sales at this point, you can borrow up to 2,500. So that's a little bit of the limitation on it. But this loan, the two main things that we look at, or the line here, I can be approved for this loan. If you can, one, have money in your business bank account, and for the last 6 months have at least 2 times what the payment would be. So a $10,000 loan over 3 years would be about a $280 payment. If you have $600 in your bank account on average over the last 6 months, you would meet the criteria for this loan and could be approved. For those of you who are, I know there are some of the SBDC folks on the call and other folks in economic development and who know about lending, this criteria is very easy, to meet and very not a tough threshold. We're only looking at, or do you carry that money in your business bank account over, recent history? And so say you don't meet that criteria now, say you don't, like you're still working on keeping a business bank account separate from your personal, which is an important first step, but you need a little bit, but you haven't been doing it because you've been, paying yourself every month and not keeping it in the business account. Spend a few months, save it, and get in there and come back, and you can kind of take those next steps and get it pretty easily. We also look for, we look at personal credit here, and the personal credit thing that we're most looking at is you don't have significant credit challenges in the last 12 months. So if you had challenges 2 years ago, 3 years ago in your past, we'll look at it, we'll talk about it, make sure we have an understanding of it. But if you're kind of stable where you are and you're just trying to kind of build back out from previous challenges, you would still be eligible. And another really important part of this, you need to be working with an entrepreneur support organization. So obviously, if you're on this call, my guess is you're already working with either co-starters or SBDC or others, who are here as well. Because we want you to have a relationship with someone who can provide support to your business as you're growing. So up to 10,000, our interest rates, as you can see at the bottom, they start at 9.75%, but you can get it down to 7.75% just by being what we call a long-term client of an SBDC. If you're in our region and gone through our workshop, that would be a way as well. But so a long-term SBDC client, someone who's had, more than 5, sessions with an SBDC advisor. So, and that can be 5 sessions in 2 months or 5 sessions in 2 years, but like you're working with someone on an ongoing basis. So we believe that relationship is really important, and that support that you get from it can really help your business. And so we're willing to lower our interest rate just because you're doing that and and working to improve your business. So that's one loan. That's a newer one, for us, but it's a great opportunity. If you apply for it, we can literally get a decision to you within probably 2 weeks, if we have all the information. So it's a very quick process, designed to help get up to 10,000 in capital. So that's one loan. A second loan that CIC offers is just what we call our startup or growth microloans. So these are more of a kind of traditional application process that you think of. It's up to $50,000. So that's our cap at the moment. Can be for all the things that we would help to grow your business. So, building improvement, short-term capital, equipment, all the stuff that, go into growing. And to be approved, we really need to understand how you can afford the monthly payment from your business. So we're looking at your business plan here, and your kind of both your history of what you've been doing, as well as your plan and projections for going forward. So if you're a brand new business, it's all your business plan. If you're an existing business, then it would be, looking at both kind of what's your track record to date, as well as, how is this loan going to help you take those next steps? So again, interest rates are similar. Terms are usually 2 to 5 years. We can go a little bit longer than 5 years if folks are needed, but that's an option. So these are options that I should say to be eligible, we either want you to have 6 months in business, or again, we want you to be a long-term SBDC client or working with an entrepreneur support organization. So a brand new business who's not working with anyone, like we probably wouldn't consider the loan. But if you're brand new, but you've been working with SBDC, or, we are happy to kind of talk with Jacob and Lauren about, kind of deepening the partnership of being a co-starters graduate could make you eligible for that. Though that type of thing could make you eligible as a brand new, but once you've had 6 months in business, meaning 6 months of sales history, and I'm not saying you have to sell 10,000 a month in sales, but like showing that you're working and building and people are starting to buy for 6 months makes you eligible. So I'll come back on that in a second. Yeah, so how do you prepare a loan application? And this is specifically for CIC, but I think it broadly applies to just about anywhere you're going to apply. First and foremost, unless you're doing that 10,000 accelerator loan I mentioned, you're going to need that business plan. And a business plan includes your cash flow projections and also shows us how you validate your market. How do we know people want to buy what you're selling? Those two things are hand in hand. If you remember, I haven't looked at the co-starters curriculum recently, but I'm sure there's a cash flow week that you talk about. You're making assumptions and projections about how much you're going to sell. And then how do you know that you can go from selling 5,000 a month to 10,000 a month over the next, year? How do you know that? It's always a bit of a guess, and it's a goal, but show us how you believe you can get there. As you're thinking about financing, no matter who it's from, keep money and build savings in your business bank account. Always, it's good to have emergency savings in your personal account as well, and that should be part of your general finance. I think Robert said you do personal finance, right, Robert? So like very important to have that emergency savings. Same thing in the business. Build some of the emergency savings in the business as well, because if a lender looks at you and you have 3,000 or 4,000 in savings for your business that you carry every month, they're going to feel much more comfortable about making a loan than if you're always at $100, $200, that type of thing. Even if you're consistently and been that for a long time, it's just having that cushion is important for when things break, or, you need to replace equipment or have a rough month for some reason. So, and then start working on that personal credit. Banks will, I mentioned the 2 or 3 years in business requirement. Also, it's really hard to get a bank loan for a very small business where the owner is operating if you don't have at least a 650 credit score. Higher is better. 700, things start to get, more attractive options and a lot of things with the 700 credit score. But if you don't have at least 650, it's more challenging for a lot of banks. There's not a hard number that's always the case, but that is usually that. CIC, we don't have a minimum credit score. We've done loans much lower than 600, but we're really looking for, have you stabilized your situation with your debt and you have a sense of how you're going to improve it over time and have started down that road, and then we can help you from there. So in general, for our larger loans, we say if you want a decision by the first week of January, we usually want a application by the 1st of December for the larger loans. The smaller 10,000 accelerator loan can be, a 1 or 2 week turnaround, at any point. So, so that's that. And yeah, so contact information. Carolina Medina, my colleague, who's actually our director of lending, is on vacation this week. She and so wasn't able to join, but she is the primary contact and would work with anyone who is thinking of loans. And so her information is on here. Obviously, I'm always available as well and can help answer questions at any point. But that's my kind of quick presentation and kind of overview of both CIC and our loan program. I'm happy to take your questions.